What's something you only learned because you almost died? Never let a drunk go to sleep flat on their back. Source: almost died in my teen years the first time I ever got drunk after passing out in a separate room from the party only to be found by a friend choking on my vomit. This is a good one. If you're throw up drunk, try and at least lay down in the recovery position, basically on your side propped up by your leg and laying your head on your arm. If you throw up in your sleep, you at least won't choke on it. If you see someone on their back and know they've been drinking heavy, try and roll them over to this position. They'll probably wake up, but you can assess the situation. Also important to know your limits and try to have a feel for your friend's limits so nobody gets to that point. Turns out you have a much better time when you're not getting completely obliterated and can somewhat remember the night. When I was in college, I was taught to put a backpack on someone in recovery pose with heavy books, not on top of them, like put their arms through the straps like they would typically wear it. So if they tried to roll onto their back in their sleep from recovery pose, they would be unable to. Not sure if any doctors or anything can weigh in on if this is legitimately good advice, but it made sense to me. That makes sense. I think I actually recall one of my CPR/first aid instructors saying something along those lines years ago. I guess I should also mention, if you get to the point of doing this and they're not responding/waking up, check for breathing and don't be afraid to call paramedics. An alive friend that is mad at you is better than a dead friend you could have helped. My freshman orientation in college handed out cards that showed you what to do in case someone fell asleep while drunk. They even put magnets in all of the dorms of the same thing. It seemed like overkill at first glance, but first party, that shit came in handy. I rolled over like 3 friends that night. That's how Jimi Hendrix went. Jimi Hendrix died on September 18, 1970, after asphyxiating on his own vomit, which was caused by an overdose of barbiturates and alcohol. He was found unresponsive in his hotel room and was pronounced dead shortly after arriving at the hospital. And John Bonham. I had learned this somewhere as an early teen. Had a friend start throwing up while lying on his back when we were drunk at age 15. I was smart enough to help him roll on his side and talk to him to keep him awake until he got better, but also drunk enough to try lightly waterboarding him with an energy drink. I thought if he got caffeine in his system he could stay awake long enough to sober up and purge his stomach safely. Drunk enough to try lightly waterboarding him with an energy drink. You ever get so concerned for your friend's well-being that you accidentally commit war crimes? No? Yeah. Me neither. I remember reading about this in 17 magazine way back in the day. Neat little islands on big rivers are further than they appear. Also that I'm not a good swimmer, but thankfully my brother is. I feel like too may have saved future me's life. Those islands always looked so cool. Yeah. Take my advice, use something that floats to help get you there. It was a cool little island, there was an otter family living there, but not worth the near drowning. Our mom paddled over on an air mattress to rescue us. I was banned from swimming for the rest of the summer. Also, don't swim against a stronger than expected current to get back to your boat full of friends. Swim with the current towards land and have them come to you. Nearly drowned due to exhaustion and panic. I learned that lesson trying to retrieve my little stepsister's beach ball that floated away. Luckily, I didn't have to come close to death to find out everything on water is further out than it appears. Even if you've crossed the same dormant train track near your home for 10 years, if they suddenly decide to use it, there will be a train well before they put up a safety gate. I live in a rural community where multiple people have been killed by trains that so rarely pass through. For years there was a dormant train track near my home. The track was completely grown over with grass, and there was random crap sitting on the track near the road. I still slowed down and checked each time I went past because I had it in my mind that one day a train might pop out of nowhere. They finally got rid of the track about 6 months ago, but it's taken me a while to get out of the habit of checking. It's a good habit. Someone was rammed by a train near me, they lived. IIRC, the gates were up and the lights were showing all clear, but the train still came through. Slow down, look around, downshift. Don't ever think you are too young to have a heart attack. And please remember, women's signs and men's are extremely different. At 54, I had a heart attack. Had 2 stents put in and the next day while I was still in the hospital, I had a second one. Had it not been for the fact that my jaw was hurting and I got really nauseated, I would have blown off the tingling down my arm and slight chest pain and tried to go to sleep. Please don't ignore any symptoms. No matter how insignificant they seem, do not take any chances. Call 911. This always scares me. I have symptoms and pain that mimic a woman's heart attack on a daily basis. I don't think I'll know if it's really a heart attack, or if I'll put it off and go to sleep just like every other day. Some of the pain got worse a couple days ago, and I just went to sleep and 2 days later, I'm back to the regular pain. Super scary and gives me insane anxiety. When I almost died, I learned that the small everyday moments are actually the big ones. A hug, a laugh, A shared coffee, those are what I saw flashing through my mind, not money or achievements. Now I live slower, love harder, and try not to take a single sunrise for granted. One day you'll be nostalgic for today. I'm 45 and what I remember most from my 20s is feelings. I can't remember what car my parents had or what I ate for any meals, but I remember how I felt when I drank coffee and watched the rain from my window. I don't remember where my wife and I had our first date. I remember how I felt when I looked at her. This right here. Take a brief moment on the walk to the car to appreciate the sunset or the weather or how nice it smells. A moment to appreciate the fresh coffee you just made. How nice the flower blooming in your yard is today, etc. You don't have to wait for the made-for-TV big moments to have that awe and appreciation for life. That ectopic pregnancies are a thing and they will kill you. Before I had one, I'd never heard of such thing. And apparently, neither did the people at the hospital because they just told me that I'm pregnant and then kept trying to figure out with ultrasounds where the heck the baby was. Once they finally figured out what it was, no one there could do anything for me for a while. They had to call people from some other place to come over. Anyway, yeah, I have no idea how I even survived that because I was bleeding internally for a very long time. Days. Because it was days before I called 911 for a second time about the pain. First time I was just sent back home. I didn't mean for this answer to be this long. No one is gonna read this. I read it. That shouldn't have happened to you or anyone else. Please contact the patient advocate at the facility it happened. It doesn't matter how long it's been. True. A CT scan at minimum should have been done. Women's healthcare is so fucked up. How does an entire hospital's worth of medical professionals graduate without even understanding the concept of an ectopic pregnancy? It's not even considered rare woman facepalming. I read it and I'm sorry you went through that. Thank you. They ended up removing my left fallopian tube. I'm so grateful I survived. My wife and I had an ectopic. Literally a year ago next week. That was the hardest thing to watch her go through. After about 18 hours in the she also had her right tuj removed and was bleeding internally. Pain won't kill you, but long time suffering might. Pain can kill you. Due to pain from an industrial chemical accident, my blood pressure was 247/180 for at least an hour. The first 1,000 milligrams of morphine, or whatever derivative it was, given at the first hospital didn't do anything. On the way to the burn center, the EMT and the doctor along for the ride were debating on giving me fentanyl. If my heart rate didn't come down, I could die due to heart failure, but fentanyl could also kill me with my heart being under such stress. It was kind of surreal listening to them talk about my life. Several shots later it worked. Or make you want to die. Oh. Yeah. I relate. Broke my femur and I swear if someone had walked into my hospital room and ended me I would have been fine with it. It truly is the suffering. You cannot mix bleach with degreaser. You cannot mix bleach with underscore 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 underscore. Unless you are filling that blank with water. Don't do it. Also on that note, don't clean cat litter boxes with bleach. Urine has ammonia and it's not a fun time. Something I learned by my brother who actually died. You poop red blood. Go see DR immediately. Get second, third opinion. Doctor told my brother he had hemorrhoids. Stupid bitch lasered them off. He was in horrific pain. He refused to see a DR for another 6 months. He went cause it was so painful. Second drive said the first DR was wrong. He had colon or anal cancer and she lasered the cancer off. Stage 4 now. Passed away about a year later after chemo, surgery, radiation and pills that cost $1,000 a pill he had to take daily. Poop blood get more than one opinion. Red could mean anything on outside of body. Cancer, hemorrhoids, a cut etc. If black that is internal bleeding, CDR right away. Edit. He was 37, so he had not had any routine colonoscopy. Don't know what stage he was in with first DR, but early detection helps a ton. Stage-specific survival rates, approximate 5-year survival, stage 1, around 90 to 92%, stage 2, approximately 85 to 89%, stage 3, about 65 to 74%, stage 4, roughly 10 to 15%. Edit. Seen some responses on insurance. Our in-system overall is good, but there are some big issues I have. If you're over a certain age or have family history of colon cancer, you can get a colonoscopy for 100% free. But, this is so stupid. If they find polyps, it is no longer free. It turns into a routine exam and now you have to pay your deductible and up to your annual out-of-pocket max. I can't wrap my head around that. People who don't know get hit with a big medical bill. Ones who do know this may discourage them from going through with it. Also make sure everyone is in your insurance network. Anesthesiologists charge a fortune and may work with your DR but may not be in your network. It's tricky. If you see black or red stools, see a doc. As far as the color is concerned, bright red means the bleeding source is in the lower GI tract. If it's black tarry, the source is in the upper GI tract and has been digested already. Your body has digested the heme in your blood, which is why it isn't red anymore. They can both be equally dangerous though. Asterisk unless you take an iron pill, or eat a metric ton of beets. I have been terrified from this once. You can run 100 yards unconscious after you've just hit a tree doing 70 miles per hour. Vague symptoms of ovarian cancer, sudden fatigue and personality change, abdominal pain, a sense of doom. Can you share more about the personality change part? They think my mother might have it. Hormonal changes cause personality changes, so you should always get them checked along with everything else. I had non-existent testosterone and it affected me in serious ways. I had ovarian cancer and it was like having constant PMS. It was producing estrogen. We had a senior cat and he peed on the carpet. I was cleaning it and sobbing, thinking I wanted to kill myself. I also remember having an eerie feeling, like our house was haunted. And man, my face was breaking out in huge cystic acne patches suddenly after years of good skin, tumor, and every single female reproductive apparatus removed. All of that disappeared. Whenever anyone mentions OC, I always mention the hormonal symptoms that no one talks about. The moment my child exits my womb and putting them in swimming lessons. My little sister started water babies at the YMCA at 5 months old. Babies float. That was 50 years ago. She is now a sped educator and teaches swimming to make ends meet. Her knees are shit from swimming so much, but was never at risk of drowning. How does swimming negatively affect your knees? I always saw it as way less stressful on the joints than other cardio alternatives. When you're treading water without your arms, you kick your legs in a weird circle/infinity symbol, and knees do not like going sideways. Also, if doing competitive swimming laps, you have a risk of fucking up your knee at the end of the lane when flipping and pushing off. Source: me, fucked up my knee doing just that. Till swimming is bad for your knees. That if your leg hurts and you're short of breath, those things are related and could kill you at any moment. Pulmonary embolism. Or your arm/upper chest. My younger sister died a year ago from a pulmonary embolism. Told her boss her arm was sore, went home, poured a coffee, died. Been a hard year. Dad had passed 2 months earlier. Being pain-free is amazing. I dream of knowing what's that like. I've been in pain for the last 27 years and it just keeps getting worse. 10 years for me, and my only hope for the afterlife is not feeling anything. Be careful around big trees after it snows. Sometimes the people you think are a good support system for when you're in crisis are the ones who cause you more trauma. You shouldn't hit 9mm scattered on the patio with a hammer. Don't swim under a shipyard pier at night. I lost my sense of direction, got lucky and found my way out. That I have epilepsy. Blowing bubbles when you pee is a bad thing. Diverticulitis led to a fistula from my bowel to my bladder, leading to E. coli infection that was close to going septic and killing me. I thought I had a bad UTI, but not that bad. Don't have pool parties with friends who will shove your head underwater. No. In fact, I would not be motivated to live a healthier life. My husband had a heart attack at 36 and we learned he had unchecked type 2 diabetes. 4 stints put in. He did well for about a month. Then started making excuses about his diet. No, he's back to the way he was while refusing to follow through on his blood and heart pressure tests. Decided it's not my problem anymore, so I'm done trying to help him with it. Asterisk stents. And trust me, as an ICU right now, if he's non-compliant after those wake-up calls, there's nothing you can do for him. You can't make someone care about themselves more than you do. I was a CNA at a nursing home and watched a guy's leg literally rot off because his idiot family wouldn't stop bringing him booze and sweets. It smelled so bad. Cooked chicken to 165 degrees. After my wife passed away, I just went to work and home. 6 months later, my aorta ruptured and almost died. After a long hospital stay and recovery, I realized how fragile life is. I got my shit together and decided it was time to live again. I met someone and fell in love. We've been to over 30 states, Canada, and Mexico. I've worked on my health, lost 60 pounds. Life is short, live it to the fullest. It's actually quite common for spouses to die close together. Grief can really do a number on you. I'm so sorry you lost your wife, but I'm incredibly happy you found someone special. I lost my best friend and basically have given up on feeling happy again, but your post gave me hope that I can find happiness again. After my treatment, lots of people would tell me what they would do if they were diagnosed with a brain tumor. Vacations, sex workers, and drugs. Shopping sprees. I let them dream about all the wonderful things they'd do if only they thought they were dying, and kept to myself the truth that you have to keep paying rent and changing the oil in your car and brushing your teeth just in case you live instead. Yeah, the rat race will continue with or without us. It doesn't just all go away because you are dying. Also, I'm sorry you had to go through all of that. It is rough and then to be so misunderstood while also dealing with that diagnosis. It's a lot to handle. I hope you are doing better now. Hugs. It takes surprisingly little snow to stop a highway speed SUV with no brakes. When the first one seems to be taking too long to kick in, do not take another. I learned the real signs of carbon monoxide poisoning. Thought I had the flu until my detector went off. Drink plenty of water. I am alone. Say the things you want to say. Stand up for what you believe in. When you're in a position of power, use it to speak up for those who can't. Remember, you weren't always where you are now. I didn't realize bone was actually insanely white until I seen my own skull. I saw inside my own heart in real time on a screen. I was having a procedure done and wasn't sedated enough. I wasn't in pain and didn't suffer for it, but it was trippy AF. Not many people can say that. Since nobody is asking how TF did you see your own skull? Mirror. Selfie mode. Reflected in their lover's eyes. I haven't seen my skull, TG, but I saw my ankle bone when I slipped on ice and really broke my ankle. Ankle had an extra bend, and a big old hole in it. Holy shit balls. 5 screws and a plate later. It's fine. I realized who I could rely on in a life or death situation. My husband is a keeper. If someone stabs you, do not remove the weapon. Took a stab wound when I was about 14 due to some growing up in a bad neighborhood shenanigans. I came to and was alone from being unconscious with the knife still in, but before I tried to make it back to my buddy's house for help, I took the damn thing out and immediately fell right back unconscious at the sight of my own blood. Shit had me feeling weak for weeks from the blood loss. It's a wonder I still walked away after that. Your body expelling large amounts of water from your lungs feels a lot like throwing up. Before almost drowning, I assumed the water always had to be pumped out manually by like a machine or some chest compressions, but no, it happens on its own, very similar to a gag reflex. But I also learned years later that it doesn't always expel all of the water, and even really small amounts of leftover water can still drown you later, or you could get pneumonia. So if you almost drown, you should always go to a hospital, even if you think you've coughed everything up and feel fine. Life is fleeting and impermanent. Make the best of it every moment you can. Perception of time actually changes during a real life and death event. The 5 seconds I was airborne in a 1986 beige tempo in the winter of 1994, I made complete and utter peace with my entire life and calmly prepared for the end as if days had passed. Not seconds. Thank God a massive snowbank absorbed the impact. Don't eat Popeye's popcorn shrimp. That endometriosis can grow cancer. Endometrioid ovarian adenocarcinoma. Keep fighting for care, make them listen. Even though it's exhausting, even while it feels futile, that I don't think I'll be freaked out about dying. I actually had the weird thought flit through my head. This is what it's like? But I didn't. So maybe it'll be different. You can have a large portion of your liver removed and it will grow back. Hemochromatosis sucks. When your body tells you something, listen. New pain. A bump under your skin that you can't remember having, significant memory or sleep changes. Please go get it checked out by a medical professional. We all know the doctor's office is a pain and expensive, but you owe it to yourself and your loved ones to be responsible for your health. In the case that a minor symptom is due to an acute or time-sensitive condition, proactive identification could very well save your life or improve your health outcomes tremendously. Get out of a toxic mold house sooner rather than later, even if it costs you lots of money. I did die in a car accident. Death does not hurt. You do not feel anything. No sounds. Only light and shadows. If you want to and don't mind, care to expand a bit on what you experienced? No pain, light and shadows? Anything else coming back to life? If you don't want to expand, I get it and respect that. Thank you. That not every country has drinkable tap water. That having a 105-degree fever feels kinda neat. That it hurts, sharply, when a big artery rips on the inside. Sometimes your body does this neat thing with stacking sicknesses on top of one another. I had 4 sicknesses, all in one: H1N1, stomach flu, bronchitis and an ear infection. I couldn't breathe, sleep, eat, drinking and hear. Things started to turn for the worst after several days and missing school. My dad checked up on me and I said to my dad, "Dad, I can't breathe." My lips were starting to turn blue. My dad rushed me to the local urgent care and found out I needed to go on very strong antibiotics, 2 different types on top of an inhaler and pain meds. Turns out one of the bacterial infection was starting to tap into the spinal cord, and if my dad didn't react in time, would have ended up dead with encephalitis. Has to stay home over 3+ weeks. I learned later on several students went to school sick with various illnesses, but the most prevalent was H1N1 and bronchitis. All because parents didn't want their children to stay home. If you're a parent and have a sick kid, don't let them back to school. Have them stay home and rest. That if you have high blood pressure while pregnant in the last trimester, you should really listen to the doctors because they're speaking for experience and not arrogance. And your baby will have a low birth weight for a long time and you'll have to be readmitted for jaundice, and people will ask for a solid year why your baby is small and they won't understand when you say, because my BP was 159/151. Also your liver will ache for like a year. Cancer is exhausting. Thank God for OSHA. Those big floats that you can sit on in water parks are held in place by a big-ass chains, and that some lifeguards will refuse to do their job if there are kids actively trying to climb on a float that another kid is being kicked under over and over trying to get out. How my dad didn't get charged with something after throwing 4 kids flying trying to get me out from under that shit. If it's the same for everyone, but when I drowned, it felt like having a fire slowly start in your chest and spread across you until you don't have the energy to move your limbs. That I was more ready to accept death than I would have ever imagined, having faced the idea that I was going to. As a motorcyclist, don't trust other drivers to follow the rules. I was 6 years old and almost drowned. I was holding on the side of a swimming pool with a friend. She was a good swimmer. She was showing me how she let go, went underwater, and swam back up. After she left, I wanted to try and I almost never made it back up. Right before I was about to pass out, I was rescued. I never tried to swim again until I actually learned. But even after I learned, I had fear of open deep water. Still won't do it. You are not special. Mother Nature does not give a shit about you. You are not guaranteed to live to an old age. We are all one idiotic decision away from ending up as a headline/statistic. That high triglycerides could mean pre or even full-blown diabetes. I was in a bad car wreck at 19 in '92. I fell asleep driving after seeing They Might Be Giants. I used to tell people as long as they aren't face down in a ditch then they're okay. I learned that no matter what you plan for, you have absolutely no clue as what's past this curve in the road called life. That HR are not on the side of the employee. After being given a bull locking for taking 2 weeks off while having sepsis in pregnancy, various organs were shutting down and I was in high dependency for 5 days, but yeah, it doesn't sound that serious. That death is not scary. Agreed. It was actually the most blissful experience I've ever felt. These PPL talking like they dead, right? Agreed. Strangely, it was peaceful and pain-free. Elaborate, please. I've never almost died, but I've learned the same lesson by bearing witness to the dying as part of my workday. How pervasive heart disease of varying kinds are in my father's family. Of the 3 siblings who had kids, and dad kids, at least one cousin in every family has something wrong. Eldest cousins have AFib. Next has bradycardia, pacemaker. Next down is bad AFib. Got an ablation, gets annual checks. Next family at least 2 cousins have had heart attacks, non-fatal, I wasn't told the cause. And dad, the baby, has 2 kids, and I found out at 68 that I have bradycardia and have a pacemaker. All of it came out of the woodwork when I was bitching on FB about spending a very boring weekend in the hospital waiting for surgery on Monday. I came very close to dying, with a resting heart rate of 25, with pauses of no beat whatsoever. Some fun. I'm allergic to cephalexin. I'm allergic to aspirin. This is how my parents found out about my penicillin allergy when I was a baby. Don't replace dinner with a bag of chips. Gastro shouldn't last more than 3 days. Ruptured appendix though, that lasts for months. If you leave a tropical area and feel a bit feverish, go to a doctor. That shit won't fix itself. Malaria. Appendicitis doesn't always just hurt on one side in the beginning. It hurts everywhere. That kidney cancer doesn't have any symptoms until it's too late. I know someone who was just diagnosed and I'd never even heard of it before. Do symptoms not appear until it's spread outside of the kidney? The closet I'll ever come to dying. Got caught in a rip current. Literally saw my life between my eyes. Rip currents are scary AF. Persistent headaches that won't go away for years are not normal. It can be a matter of seconds. We never know when we walk out our front door if it's our time or not. You can't live in constant fear. Focus on being the best, compassionate, and loving person you are, and that's life. Sometimes your body just sabotages itself and you won't see it coming. But when the little weird things add up, go to the /ED before you collapse. Small coma later and 6.5 W of boredom in the hospital. I've got TTP and a rare lifelong autoimmune disease with no known triggers. I've since had 4 total events, but they've gotten shorter each time and we know what to look for and how to monitor/treat/pre-treat to minimize damage each time. I'm also in a TTP specific support group as well as a PIC support group to help cope with my new me. It's been 10Y and while I would prefer not to have this, I'm glad I'm mostly strong enough to carry it. What's TTP? When a roller coaster has one lap bar for the whole row rather than personal ones. Do not sit small children in the same row as super tall dudes. ESP on the front row of Tower of Terror. I want to hear the rest of this story. What happened to the children? After being a suicide risk and recovering in the psychiatric unit, I learned how to be grateful for being mentally well, how enjoyable life can be when you're not battling demons constantly, and to take pleasure in the small things. It completely altered my perspective in the best possible way. Crispy bacon is the way to go. Almost choked to death on some chewy bacon as a kid. Not being able to sweat when you should be sweating is not cool and is actually a sign something was wrong. My body was too busy trying to stay alive to bother with temperature regulation. You can become septic from a kidney stone. It's also a very common cause of death, but isn't usually reported as the primary cause. Happened to me in March. I thought it was a stomach bug. It was bad. Never go against a Sicilian when death is on the line. Don't get involved in a land war in Asia. The fever chills in the earlier stages of sepsis are bone-breakingly miserable, but once you start decompensating, you no longer care about anything. You just intellectually observe yourself dying. Don't eat brugmansia flowers. Never underestimate the power of a river. I went kayaking for the first time on the Illinois River in Tahlequah, Oklahoma. I am very inexperienced. While the water was calm, there had recently been a flood, so debris was in the water. I unknowingly turned into a white water rapid and I tipped over. My swimsuit got stuck underwater and kept me pinned on the log. My head was underwater and I couldn't catch a breath. My family couldn't do anything because the water was too fast right there. I had to free myself. High blood pressure will lead to majority of organs slowly dying. That every needle stick is potentially dangerous. Elaborate? I get a lot of needle sticks. Blocked common bile ducts are bad for digestion. Don't fuck around with fundamental forces of nature, like electromagnetism. You'll find out. What happened there? Don't mix melatonin and mushrooms while camping in cold weather. Or maybe just don't do it at all. Honestly, that even an experienced ocean swimmer can underestimate a riptide. And that, on occasion, a dolphin might be there to save you. That stress can make you have a seizure. Don't shoot at frozen water bottles. Ricochet. Don't trust other people with your safety. If you hear things moving, then be aware of it. A crane dropped a container on the top deck and it luckily skidded across the open hole above us instead of landing on us. Don't trust your mates. Unknowingly to us, our mate was in a borrowed car he didn't get permission for and got into an accident showing off that could have easily killed us. That I had an ultra-rare form of cancer. Not related to how I died though. I had pneumonia and very severe sepsis. They did a CAT scan on me to look at my lungs and discovered a giant mass on my spleen. I had zero idea that it was there. No pains or discomfort or anything at all. If you're still here, you're supposed to be. Not your time. Heart conditions often lead to crippling depression. Both can and will kill you. I had a fib that led to heart failure. Even after I recovered physically, the depression sank in and left me in dire straits in a different way. Glad to be out of both. I wanted to KMS, and the moment I wanted to do it, I wanted to tell someone about it and how I feel, etc. So I texted a stranger on Instagram and told her everything and why I want to end it. And then found out that I am trans. Short, found out I was trans. Sadly, all my funny funeral plans were cancelled. I am so glad you are still here. Please keep being your true self. My sister found out she was trans after some deep contemplation of suicide. She finally committed to transitioning after a failed suicide attempt. We were raised Mormon. It's a deeply homophobic and transphobic religion. She's so much happier now, but it's scary how dark things can get for someone who has to hide so much of themselves. I hope you were surrounded with love and support all throughout your transition journey. You deserve to be accepted as you truly are. And you can still have funny funeral plans. It's always good to have a will in place, just in case. Just live your life to the fullest and let the world see the amazing, authentic you. Save them for way in the future. Glad you're alive to talk about it. If you're jumping off a bridge, cross your legs. That things get better. Don't try to beat a train. Wear a helmet ice skating no matter what age you are. I fell on the ice and had a brain bleed. I'm fine now, but bought a helmet for next time I want to skate. Trams in Amsterdam don't stop if you're standing anywhere near the tracks, and there is no boundary. It feels really good to just close your eyes and let go. Almost 15 years ago, I nearly died by suicide. Thankfully, I had a heart attack that jolted me awake. Plus it was minus 30-22 degrees Celsius outside and I was in a small wooden shake. Apparently, from what the doctor said, the cold saved my life. I remember feeling so calm while I was setting everything up. I felt like my mind was in a tunnel. All the pain and hurt that I was feeling previously wasn't there. But what I've all learned from this, that feeling suicidal or having suicidal ideation is a coping mechanism. When you feel so much pain and hurt, the only thought that puts a stop to it is those. Suddenly, everything stops hurting, you feel like you're in control again. You have the illusion that these thoughts are real, because they help, but it's just that, an illusion, a mirage. I learned something about going too fast down a snowy gravel road in the winter, because I almost got a moose through my windshield. I drive a lot differently now. Black ice looks exactly like wet asphalt until you are sliding. That my mother is a true narcissist and didn't care that I nearly died from a stroke and TBI. Get to your doctor when you approach the age of 60 and get scheduled for a heart scan. You can be 68, referee junior high basketball games, work out at LA Fitness for mornings a week, eat and seem healthy, experience no telltale symptoms, and die on your couch from arteries that are clogged and blocked. You cannot beat genetics with a healthy lifestyle. The $99 heart scan can prevent a 2-week hospital stay and $500,000 medical bill. Just get it done. If your partner strangles you, they are significantly more likely to kill you in the future. Strangulation escalated to holding a loaded gun to my head. If you have food poisoning that lasts for more than a couple of hours of intense vomiting with abdominal pain, go get your appendix out right away rather than waiting until you're septic 5 months later. Exact quote from my surgeon when I saw him right after waking up post-op: "You're an idiot and you should be dead." And he was absolutely right. On both counts. I've almost died many times, and the number one thing I've learned is it all means nothing. People in charge mean nothing. Life means nothing. How cool you are means nothing. We live in a giant void of nothing and eventually become it. In a galactic scale we mean less than nothing. Why do we act like we matter when all us are forgotten in a measly century or so? We should all care about each other and move forward, but we just won't, mainly because of fairy tales from the past. Or, the basic "you aren't like me" mentality. Always tie a knot at the end of the rope when rappelling. Don't do 160 milligrams of OxyContin with a shitty person that refuses to take you to the hospital. This was many years ago and I no longer dabble in pills, but it was a scary night. I was given OxyContin in rehab after my first back surgery. That shit scares me. When I would wake up, my mind would wake up, but my body didn't for a couple minutes. I could hear everything going on around me, but I couldn't move or talk or anything. It was like being trapped inside my own body. Don't walk on the edge of a waterfall, the rocks can be slippery. Don't think accidents can't happen because you are careful and fully aware. And know this: when they do happen, you are always caught off guard. That I would never be able to have children. This was almost 50 years ago. Had a ruptured ovarian cyst that bled into my abdomen and became infected. It took 3 visits to the before I was finally admitted and diagnosed. There are 2 surgeons involved. One of them told me I was near death. Spent a week in the hospital with a drain in my abdomen. Turns out my uterus was malformed.